In a world where entertainment is viewed as mindless diversion, only good for momentary distraction, one podcast has taken a stand, thoughtfully engaging the art of our day, dissecting the narrative, and pointing the people back to the greatest storyteller of all. You are about to enter a new world, and you will never view entertainment in the same way again. This is Popcorn Theology.
Welcome, movie lovers and theology nerds, to Popcorn Theology, where we examine films for where they align with the greatest story and our greatest storyteller, discussing what to receive, reject, and redeem for common ground, fruitful conversation, and mindful movie consumption. I'm Eric.
And I'm Maddy.
And welcome back to our special series on The Rings of Power Season 2. We are covering this series as it releases and providing some quick rounds of reject, receive, and redeem. So, Maddy, what is episode, I believe this is episode 6 about?
Let's see. Galadriel considers a proposition. She kind of dances all around it. Elendil faces judgment. The stranger finds himself at a crossroad, and Sauron's plans start to bear fruit.
All right, and for this series, there is going to be no spoiler-free section. So everything is in spoiler territories right now. So let's go ahead and jump into our general thoughts on this episode. And we'll do our, I've been saying what was the good, the bad, and the ugly, but stale, fresh, buttered, and salted. I'll start. Maddie's got a little bit more comments than me on this side. So I did think the episode was stale. Not much happened. It's still kind of another one of those filler episodes. Maddie does hit on it. It jumps around a ton. It's kind of one of those things. This episode, I believe, actually starts with the Puerto Rican elf, which I don't remember his name. No, he is Puerto Rican.
I know.
So, yeah. I just don't remember the character's name, and I didn't look it up beforehand. But he's literally in that scene, and that's it. And the rest of the episode,
they
not
never
there.
show him
and
again.
It kind of makes me, it makes me think and go, I wonder if in his contract he had to be in X amount of episodes, and so they're like, where do we put him? I was like, I'll just put him at the beginning of this to show that these orcs that are apparently deserting the orc army were carrying around the plans of where they were going to be attacking. Anyway.
Whatever.
So, anyway, it was stale. Episode jumped around a lot. You have Adar and Galadriel talking together. You have the stranger and Tom talking together, and a really good member-berry episode, quotes with, Maddie, share what you were just talking about before we got started about how Gandalf apparently is an idiot.
Yeah, he doesn't have any wisdom of his own, apparently, because other people have said the things that he says later on in Lord of the Rings. So, he's a line stealer is what he is. He just steals lines from people. He's like, oh, that's good. I'm going to take that.
Excellent. And then we've got Sauron doing his things, apparently able to teleport outside of Eregion all the way to Khazad-dûm. Without, I have no idea how close these places are.
I know you
because,
don't.
Like, essentially, the place is under siege, and I haven't looked at the map in a while. I need to, but apparently, is like Eregion's under siege, and they don't even know it. So they're under siege, but yet Sauron's able to just leave and go and get more mithril, or maybe I don't know. This whole dream sequence, I honestly did think the dream sequence was kind of. Was a good touch-ish, but it's too many episodes too late, honestly. They should have been doing that for a while to explain how Sauron actually has this hold over Celebrimbor. Because up until this point, it just makes it seem like Celebrimbor is an idiot. And it's just very gullible. But if Sauron's actually able to literally be warping his mind, okay, that makes a lot more sense. And then the last plot point is Elendil and the Queen. And I actually thought Elendil's character arc in this episode was actually It was actually pretty good. Not enough to raise the whole episode beyond stale, but I thought it was pretty good. So, Maddie, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say stale as well. You said the last episode was almost good. This one was just bad. Again, very stilted. There's just too much jumping back and forth with no cohesive line of thought from storyline to storyline. Lots more line recycling. They brought back the sea is always right.
So I missed that one. I missed that one again.
No, that was when he was talking about the faith. Like you gotta have faith and the works, and he's gonna accept the fate of the valor, and he just whispers to Muriel, "The sea is always right."
Okay.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna get that on a T-shirt as a joke, I think. But yeah, and I just felt like, again, seeing that the last episode, I actually semi-enjoyed it. I just thought this one, again, it just, as with every other episode, it seems like, it just kind of ignores previous episodes and just kind of skims over, like, the deaths that happened. Like, they didn't even show Valindil's death in the recap, which I thought was funny, because that was, like, a pivotal moment. So again, and I don't even care about the not hobbits at this point. They showed them for like maybe a minute of screen time, and I don't even know why. Just they were just there. And we occasionally go back to them like every, for a few seconds here and there. But it was just dumb, and the whole romance is dumb. Ugh, I hate it so much. I'm just hoping like maybe they're just trying to phase them out because they realize that everyone hates that storyline so much, and it literally contributes nothing to the story. I can dream, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So while I'm watching,
I doubt it.
yeah. So and while I'm watching these, I just write like I have my computer open and I'm just writing like stream of conscious thoughts as I'm watching. And so some of my stream of conscious thoughts during this episode was Disa can summon bats. I guess she's a vampire. And I also thought Sauron's outfit was gay. It just looked cheap and stupid. Oh my
cheap
god.
and stupid. I love it.
Yeah. And then I will say the one thing that really kind of made me laugh during this episode was the judgment scene, which is supposed to be really serious, and it was like good in a way. Like I enjoyed the idea behind it, the theme behind it, but I just thought it was really funny because if you pause it at the wide shots, there's only a couple people there. Like this is like a judgment on this guy, and the queen is there, and the new king is there, and there's like maybe 20 people there. Like you pause it and you're just counting, you're like, there's only like 20 people here. Like where's the city? Like what is everyone doing? Was everyone busy?
That was one. I didn't go back and look at it because that struck me too, because I was like, what? There's no one here. I think there's people up on like the hill ridge and stuff like that.
I'd have to rewatch it again, but I was looking at it.
Yeah, I'd have to. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're supposed to be CGI people up on the ridge line and watching and stuff. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, there's no one. There's like they didn't spend enough money on extras, because you would think with $1 billion that you would have
or just CGI them in.
A lot of extras. Something, but yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that was basically my thoughts. Oh, and the Orthanc stolen scene, shot for shot, with the, did you think that I would attack a Region with just this many orcs? It's like, yeah, you stole that. Again, from a better movie.
Yeah. Well, and I thought you were talking about, when you put that in the notes, I thought you were talking about with the Palantir, where Farazan goes and puts his hand on it. I thought you were
literally quote, again he says
with Sauron.
He literally says like, did you think I would attack a Region with just one legion of orc?
Just
look at how many just one legion, 10,000 legions. Yeah, so
my God, there is no such army.
Yes.
All right. So we all know a show or a film's quality doesn't always reflect its depth of theological talking points. So if we're going to drink from this show's depth of deep themes, there's not very deep. What's in the cup? Is this diluted, carbonated, or cup runneth over? And I'll start. I thought this episode actually was carbonated for really two conversations in the show in this episode that I was like, okay, I can kind of get behind this. Is the conversation of what it means to be a faithful man. I think that's worthwhile. And the conversation with Gal and Adar has some good analogies for the nature of sin and its lies. So that's why I thought it was carbonated, because I think you could really mine those two with, from a Christian perspective. You could really mine those two for a while. So how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna differ a little bit. I'm just gonna say it's diluted. I don't know. Even though there are good ideas in this show, like there's been several over the last couple episodes, they're so woefully inadequate because of the writing. I just, again, we can pick out good things to talk about, but none of them are gonna come to fruition, I feel like. So, you can't just have member berries everywhere, and you can't just have like good points sprinkled here and there, and that makes the whole thing good. Just because it has good ideas, it's like, well, how are you expressing the ideas? How are you expanding on the ideas? How are you delving into them and showing them, not just telling? Like, how are you showing that in your story? And I just don't think the show knows what to do with that's the thing. Say they took Tolkien's writing, which is chock full of goodness and truths and good ideas, but it's like they can't figure out how to express that on screen. It's they just take bits here and there and plop them in, and they're like, that sounds cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. They are trying to borrow from a lot of different sources, and you actually hit on quite a few on the reject section. So let's go ahead and we'll move into what can we thoughtfully reject from the show. And Maddy, take it away. I mean, she got to the notes first, and then when I went into the notes, I was like, yeah, this is basically what I would reject. So yeah,
okay.
Pretty much a ditto and an amen from me, whatever she's about to say. So
all right. Well, the first things first. I reject that the sea is always right. Totally, completely reject that. The sea is an inanimate object, in case you didn't know. Anyway, I'll know it. My real point. So the conversation, the very short, like 2 minutes of screen time we get with Gandalf and Bombadil, or not Gandalf and not Bombadil, whatever. Bombadil says this line, and it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And again, it's just confusing because he doesn't know what he wants. But he said, "Your friend or your destiny. The choice is yours." Because Gandalf's wondering, like, should I go save Nori? Because he had this like vision about her that she might be in trouble. Or do I need to go find this staff side quest thing? And so in the last episode, it was confusing as to whether the wand chooses the wizard or the wizard chooses the staff. Two competing ideas there. And the thing is that you can't choose your friend or your destiny, because by definition, it is the future of events that are predetermined or irresistible once you choose it. So if he chooses to save his friend, that is his destiny. So the question itself is nonsense. But even further than that, we as Christians, we don't believe in destiny or fate even. We believe in predestination, which differs from destiny in the sense that instead of determining our path or through choices or luck, it is decided by God beforehand, like it is written. Or in this universe, I would say it's the valor. And I feel like they have sprinkled here and there in the show that they are in a sense steering everything. But then you get lines like this where it's like, oh, but you get to choose. You have to prove that you're worthy of the staff. And it's just, again, it's very convoluted and muddled. But just made me think of Jeremiah 1:5. Because God does predetermine everything. He writes our stories, and before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Which, if we're gonna go by the lore in the Silmarillion, Gandalf basically was that. Like, he was appointed by the Valar to go into Middle Earth. So he is kind of a prophet in a sense. But apparently not in this story. He doesn't. He just needs to find his staff, I guess. I don't know.
He needs to get his memory back. He needs to find a staff. He needs to do all that instead of being a messenger. From the Valar, he is now a wanderer himself. In this, which is that's not he's not Moses. He's not Jesus. He's not any of the things he was supposed to be in the Lord of the Rings. He's now just he's a vagabond, really at the end of the day. So I will only one quick point. So the Valar are essentially archangels. If you want to think about this thing, Valar are essentially archangel. Iluvatar there is one god. Iluvatar.
Yes,
he does have the song that is basically it's all going to work out. He's even incorporating Morgoth's discord into his song at the end of the day. So there is, in Tolkien's world, there is this steeringness of everything is moving in a certain direction, and the Valar, because they're only archangels, they don't even know. And that's why the Valar a lot of times are very hands off, because they don't want to be like Melkor or Morgoth and bring in discord into Iluvatar's message. Now they do sometimes. Like the Eagles are actually are messengers of one of the Valar, and so like whenever the Eagles show up, it's literally the Valar interfering. It's kind of going against what they're normally doing. Why the Eagles showed up at in Numenor, no one knows. No one knows.
No one knows.
But anyway, I no one knows. We'll probably never know. But that's my only one on the lore contention part.
Yeah.
And then on the theology side, it's not that, and I want to be clear with this. It's not that humans don't have free choice. We do. Like the Bible is very clear. We do have choice. It's just our choices are bound under God's sovereignty. And so like we can't make a choice that's going to bring discord into God's plan, because he's already incorporated. He's already planned for it. He already has a better plan. The discord that Adam and Eve and Satan brought in, he's already fixed it in Christ. He's already fixed it there, and he knew, and he orchestrated through acts of providence and special action. He made it come about. And so it is one of those things. Like you start to pull on some of these threads, you start to see how, it's particularly in Tolkien's lore, how everything starts to flow together. And so with that, we can start to move into some receive and some redeem. And so for me, a receive was actually the conversation between Adar and Galadriel. Is the way I'll describe it, and I've described sin this way before, is sin is a liar. It promises you the world, and at the end of the day just gives you ash. It's just very fleeting. All of Satan's promises are fleeting. And they're talking about what it is that Sauron had promised them, and he promised Galadriel apparently an army, which I don't remember. That must have been from the first season. I just don't remember that. He promised her an army, and he promised Adar children. And Galadriel says, it appears he gave us what we desired. And he goes, it is not his lies that need to be extinguished. It is him. And it's this thought, and this always happens with people who are caught in the midst of sin. This thought of, I just need to get rid of the temptation, or I just need to get rid of this person who's causing me to be angry or causing my life to be miserable, and then everything will be better. And it's this idea is you just add a sin on top of another sin. And we'll see where the show goes with this, is that did Adar actually bring his quote unquote children to Sauron so that Sauron could have that army and to take over that army? Because at the end of the day, like, if you're really looking at Sauron's powers and what he can do, the corrupting influences of sin, really, at the end of the day. And I think forget which line it was, but essentially I reinterpreted it, said the sin that you own will in the end up owning you. And I think that's what they were talking about, the dwarf rings, is that that ring owns you. That ring owns you at this point. And by accepting the gifts of Sauron, whether it's the army or it's the children, it's like, nah, there's a price. There's a price that's going to come with that you don't know what it is. And I'll be curious to see what they do in next episode or the next episode after that, whether they actually turn, or whether they've been trying to build up that orcs aren't these mindless beasts and they can have families and stuff like that. It will be curious if they decide to let Sauron just take them by like mind control or something like that, because the only thing we've seen him be able to do that with so far is beasts, just regular beasts. So if orcs are meant to be an oppressed minority and Sauron can control beasts, what are the showrunners telling us that oppressed minorities are? So I don't think that they understand the. Yeah, I know. It's like, I don't think they've thought too hard about it. And so it is one of those where it's like, I don't think they realize what route they're going down. But we'll see over the next 2 episodes whether they out themselves as bigots, or maybe they'll land the plane in some other area.
We'll see.
And then the last part for me. Actually, 2 last parts. So, Galadriel, you were talking about the other day, that was like, if the orcs and the elves end up teaming up together, you're going to stop watching the show. Yeah. And I did think of a way to redeem that from an analogy standpoint, and it's because of Churchill being in the news and all this type of stuff. Is Galadriel and Adar, like Galadriel joining up with Adar, is akin to the Allies joining up forces with the Soviets. It's not a good situation. It's not an ideal situation. It is literally the good guys teaming up with the not as bad guys. It's like, to defeat someone even worse. So I could see a very temporary situation where I could go, okay, I see why, but but to have orcs and elves and men all living together, no, that I'm not for. But them all fighting together, to kill a common enemy, I can see that for a temporary standpoint, but more just Galadriel and Adar. But that's one possible redemption if they actually go that route.
Not much of a redemption, but
no, not much. And I think that then the last point we had is actually, I think, kind of goes back and forth with each other. So you can go ahead and get started first.
So my main takeaway from a redeemed perspective was faith without works is dead. And that comes from the scene where Elendil is talking to Muriel before he's going for his judgment. And she's kind of trying to persuade him to just bow down to Pharazôn. I want you to, because I need you. We need more men like you. And his argument, which is a good and true argument, is that I wouldn't be the man that I am if I do this. He says, faith is not faith, that is not lived. And I wrote in my stream of conscious thoughts, true dat. I really like that. I have no issue with this whatsoever. You have to defend what you believe in. And from Jude 3:3, you have to contend for the faith. You have to defend that true gospel. You can't just hide. And that kind of ties into the martyrdom idea, which that whole scene was kind of essentially going to be a martyrdom if, if the sea worm didn't eat her. So which it didn't. But yeah, so and that's a very Christian idea, is that, we are willing to die for that faith, because it is true, and because it is integrity. We have integrity to do that because we're called to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so for me, is along the same points, is like I've really noticed, and this really honestly does speak to me kind of as a man, is one of the somewhat differences that I've come across in just male female dynamics a lot of times is what women, in this case the daughter, see as pride. The father is actually displaying loyalty and integrity. I was like, he's like, does it look like pride when a Christian says, no, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman, and sex is only for married people? Is does that look like pride to this world? Absolutely. It looks like we're just digging in our heels and we're being bigots, and we're, all the other phobes that they'll call us, as try to deride us with. But we're just being loyal. Yeah. We're just being loyal to our Lord and Savior, and we're just having integrity. It's like the person who I am. Unfortunately, the person who told this story is actually, after he died, came out that he was a philanderer. But he talked one time. He was a Christian. His employer kept pushing him to come and do essentially drugs or whatever with him after work. And he told him, that, listen, every night you have me lock up the place. You give me the keys. I balance the drawers. I do all this. Nothing has ever gone missing. Everything has gone good. It said, if I compromise my integrity to go have fun with you, will you be able to trust me tomorrow? And I was realized, like, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. I won't be able to trust you. And you said it, faith is not faith if it is not lived. The line that caught me is, it was something like, I'd rather die with a whole heart than one broken by cowardice.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, one. That gets it there. He is trusting in the valor that he will be vindicated, and providentially, the Bible verses that I listened to, the audio Bible that I listened to today, was the three guys in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah. It's with the fiery furnace, and they won't bow down. They're men of integrity, and they won't bow down. And they say, listen, you can throw us in the fiery furnace, and said, our God may save us. He may not. It's like, but we will live in our integrity. And I think it's really one of the simplest things it's not an easy thing. So simple and easy are different, but it really is one of the simplest things for a Christian to do, is just have integrity. Just don't compromise on the faith. Be the father who is willing to die, even though his daughter is saying, stop being prideful. It's like, no, I am who I am. I wouldn't be your father if I do this. I will be something else, but I will not be the same man if I bow the knee to a false king. And that, to me, I think that ties in very well with my other thing about sin, is once you give in to sin, you become something different on the other side. Yeah. You either become more like your sin, or you get redeemed out of your sin because of Christ's work, and then you become something else after that. You become something better. And so, watch your actions and have integrity. So I'll give the final word to you.
Man, I don't know if I have a final word. I agree. Amen, brother. I love that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and end on that spot. So until next time, keep engaging movies and media from a godly perspective. And remember, you are not a mindless consumer.
Thanks for watching this episode of Popcorn Theology. For more content, subscribe on YouTube. Follow and interact on social media to help broaden the conversation. Check out our archive of past episodes at popcorntheology.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, and consider becoming a patron saint by supporting us on Patreon, which lets you interact, influence, and enjoy exclusive bonus content.